Hello, Old Morgan Studios. We're almost to the end of our chord scale journey. We went through the minor pentatonic pattern 1 and said, hey, there's 5 chords inside this scale. And we played them, and we played the chord shape, and then we played the kind of arpeggio shape. And after all this, you have 10 chords, right? But you don't have a major 7, you don't have a dominant 7. In my book, you need a major triad, a minor triad, and a major 7, a minor 7, and a dominant 7. Those are kind of like the basic flavors. So here's how to get your major 7. We're going to get the major 7 and the dominant 7. That's the 2 we need. You start off with the major pentatonic 1, because major pentatonic is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. That's how you get 1, 3, 5, 6. That's how you get the major 6 chord. But all you have to do to make it a major 7 is just switch out this 6 for a 7. Okay? And that's just moving it a whole step if you know your intervals on the guitar. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, here you just see for yourself. Okay, we're trying to match this chord here, this drop 2 version of the major 7. And see that this little note here, it doesn't fall neatly into the major pentatonic scale. So what we're going to do, this is your 6, and we're going to move the 6 down. But there is like an octave. If you kind of go back an octave, 1, and then skip 1, there's another note there that we need to include. Okay. So here we go. I try to draw it out for you. This is like what I call a 1 by 1 octave shape, meaning 1 fret down, 1 string over. 1 by 1. So this is the 6. You move it down a whole step to make it a 7. And then there's another little note hiding outside the shape. When you move that a whole step, you get this note here. Or you can just, let me go back. You can say, hey, I'm just moving this note here. Let me go, I want to go, let me do this. I want to go rise over run like you do when you do a slope. 1 string by, wait, this is a 1 by 2. 2 frets. So 1, skip 2 frets. This is a 1 by 2. Or a 2 by, I'm messing up. I'll have to redo this one again. So you go rise, you go the notes here. So you go 1, 2, up, and then you skip 1 string, there you go. 2 by 1 octave shape. Okay. In the end, I know I confused you, but if you just remember that one thing, you're changing the 6 to a 7, and find it and change it, you get your shape. Okay. Point. After you get so far, you can't just use the pentatonic shapes to find every chord imaginable. So what you're going to do, and what I think people do, is they get the arpeggio, the chord shape, and then they just kind of add in like 1 or 2 notes and make it a kind of like a chord, like a scale, an arpeggio scale. That's what I'll call it, like an arpeggio scale. If you thought about the major pentatonic, that's kind of like a major 6 chord, major 6/9 chord. Okay, arpeggio. And if you think about the minor pentatonic, that's like a minor 7 add 4, or a minor 11 arpeggio. Okay. So the main way to think about like these scales, any 5-note, 5-part chord is like a pentatonic scale. And if you think of it that way, that's kind of like the shortest, I think, in my opinion. That's the smallest nugget you can have of notes that kind of makes a sound. You can have, okay, let's see. When you play this, you'll see what I'm talking about. It'll have a different feel than the major pentatonic, minor pentatonic. It kind of feels to me like, a commercial, those commercial jingles at the end. Jazz, most definitely. It has a different feel to it. Okay. You can play the Lydian mode, which is part of the major scale, 7 notes, but that has a slightly different sound than this little 5-note kind of arpeggio scale, what I'm calling it, right? Okay. So there you go. Major 7 shape. So after this, now we're almost there. We're going to do the minor pentatonic. We're going to change that to make it a dominant 7 to fit a dominant 7 chord. And then we'll have a basic set of chords, scales, and then kind of like chord scale link. And then we have that as our kind of foundation. And we're going to get into some songs and everything and kind of develop a vocabulary. And so you can freestyle. I promise you, you're going to be able to freestyle in a minute. But depending on how much you practice, you'll get there. Anyway, next video, last chord scale kind of relationship. Remember the overall theme. Once you get into it, just know your chord shapes and just play your chord shape as an arpeggio. And if you know your intervals, just plug in kind of like those little missing intervals. And then you'll have like a chord, like a pentatonic pattern and a chord shape at the same time. You don't have to memorize all these pentatonic shapes, right? Okay. Hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video.